Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode here on the Sticks and Bones podcast. It is High Priestess Chelsea and Dr. K. Hi, Dr. K. How are you?
Good. The girls are cooking. The girls are cooking. But today's a really left field episode for us. But I don't know. I'm super excited to dive into it and get nostalgic, if that makes sense. Which kind of contrasts. Maybe it'll like blind me from the heat outside. But how are you doing?
I am really good. Yeah, it is so hot. It is 96 degrees here in New Jersey. I went outside to go drop off some of our international packages at the FedEx office. Shout out to those of you that buy from Six and Bones Temple. A lot of statues went out, and I was like, I need to get these. Hi, Pluto. I need to get these to the FedEx office, and it's right down the road for me. I just have to walk a singular, not a city block. It's like a longer than a city block, and I
Yeah.
was so hot. And
Yeah.
I went at 7 a.m. this morning because I was like, let me go. Dude, we'll not do that again. It was just too hot. So I'm over it, but I'm happy that, we could stay outside and we could talk about one of our favorite things, Greek mythology. I think this episode is very long overdue, and it's a question I'm almost curious about, and I'm going to ask those of you that are listening,
Yeah.
what is your gateway drug to Greek mythology or ancient Greek religion? How did you get here? Because we had to ask ourselves the same question, like, how did we wind up here?
It's a crazy road, like shoots and ladders style of how did you get into Greek mythology? Were you a Percy Jackson stan? Did you get into Greek mythology because of Disney's Hercules, Epic, or because of the Gilded Mythology book at the Scholastic Book Fair? What was the OG hit?
I know, and we were talking about this yesterday. And it's a very interesting conversation because our two stories are very different, and I think some of you are either going to resonate with Dr. K or you're going to resonate with me
Hmm.
because I think everyone got here either very in a very similar way or very different. I know
Yeah.
sometimes when I post about the Greek gods on like my Instagram, the Percy Jackson like fandom will be like, "This is not my Percy Jackson edit. I don't know how I got here," and I'm always like, "Hi." I know there's a lot of crossover between people that actually practice ancient Greek religion or love Greek mythology and the retelling community. Because, contrary to popular belief, while we are two people that practice ancient Greek religion and believe in restoring history, we actually do love the retelling. Some of them. Some of them we've read, we didn't like, but we are retelling girls. I don't think people know that about us.
No, what's crazy, and I didn't tell you this in the temple the other day, but Kevin was scrolling through Instagram and he got sucked into an aesthetic retelling reel. And he was like, wow, just talking to himself. And he was like, wow, somebody really did not like the Song of Achilles. And I was like, what? How?
That's a hot
How?
take, honestly. That's a hot take. But I'm here to listen to why, because everyone can have an opinion.
So he was saying he didn't really give an answer why. I guess the OG poster did not denote why, but Kevin was like, "You were sobbing when you finished that book." Like he's like, "This is quite the opposite reaction." And the person was like, Greek myth retellings like aren't my jazz, but I'm super into." Apparently, and I don't know if you know about this, but apparently there's like Catholic or Abrahamic mythology retellings.
I did not know. You know what? I
I
have
did
to
not know.
say, it doesn't surprise me. I think in today's day and age, there are retellings for everything. Um, but to go back to your point, I've seen people not like Song of Achilles, but they're usually very, very have to be by the book people that want it to be an actual
Oh,
historical reenactment or the actual
yeah.
Greek myth. And so, therefore, they do not like the take that Madeline Miller took because obviously we have to set the record straight. That is not actually Achilles, right? Like we all here, if you don't know, you have to know. We do not want to fantasize about Achilles, the real one,
No.
because he was terrible. But like the one in Song of Achilles, still kind of terrible, but not as bad. But actual Achilles committed war crimes. Wasn't like, the whole love story was not a thing in the actual myth.
No.
And I think a lot of people had took umbrage with that because they were people that practice ancient Greek religion and they were like upset that people thought that Achilles was like this amazing hero and he had this incredible love story. So I get it from that perspective, but like it's a retelling and I loved Song of Achilles. That truly.
Love Song of
One of my
Achilles.
favorite books.
Cried. I don't. It's such a good book that I don't know if I could reread it without ruining my mental stability
Right.
again
Oh yeah, I can't reread it again.
and
No.
rewiring myself. But it is interesting because when Kevin was saying like, oh, like there's Christian retellings, and I was like, are there? What are you retelling? But then it got me thinking about DreamWorks back in the 2000s that did The Prince of Egypt.
Prince of Egypt
And
was great.
that slapped. That
Yes.
soundtrack slapped. And I was like, oh, maybe it's something like that. But I mean, if you read any of those retellings, what are they? Are they good?
I don't know, but now I feel like I need to look into it because I wonder, like, how crazy are they?
I don't know because
Like, how crazy?
how crazy. I've dabbled into some like Mesopotamian retellings. So I'm like, what else is out there? What's in the retelling field?
I wonder if it has to do with the Mother Mary, the Madonna. I'm gonna have to take a look as an
Hmm.
Italian folk girl. Now it is my job to look at the retellings. I'm not really into biblical mythology as much as Greek mythology. We have this conversation in the temple.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite mythology, honestly. I will read anything but biblical mythology. It's it's cool, but it's not my favorite, I have to say. Like, and so I don't think a retelling maybe would capture my heart. But very interesting. But I think if it's an idea, there's probably a retelling out there for it.
Yeah, I think visually, I don't know from a book standpoint, but visually, The Prince of Egypt was probably like the best retelling in a modern lens way to do it. But I mean, yeah.
I also think too the music was really good in that one. So
Oh,
that's really what I remember from the Prince of Egypt. But anyway, yeah, if there is something that exists, there's probably a retelling about it. So we are two people that love retellings, contrary to popular belief. We are always very honest about retellings. For
yeah.
a while on Patreon, we were doing book reviews, and we did do quite a few share of retellings, including Song of Achilles, Hera, Medusa's sisters.
Oh, that one.
That one was crazy. Like crazy because you didn't know it was happening or coming and like the plot
No.
twist. But we are retelling people. But anyway, back to the plot of the story. Well, let us know in the comments. Do you guys love retellings? Did you read Song of Achilles? If you didn't and you are a Greek myth person, let me tell you, you will not be disappointed unless you might be disappointed how Achilles is portrayed if you absolutely hate him in Greek myth. And that might be a hard pill to swallow. You know, that
And
one's
if you
very difficult.
and if you read Song of Achilles, did you read Circe and what was the order you read them in?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yes. That one too. Have you guys read Circe? Because we're not doing the retellings on Patreon anymore, but we do review other content. We actually review actual books on ancient Greek religion now and sources. But if you've read Circe, let us know. Maybe the next episode we'll go into like what we thought of Circe. Truly, truly, it's a mystery. For those of you that are on Patreon were there for that moment in time. If you know, you know.
Hmm.
If you know, you know. Anyway, but before we begin today's episode, we have an exciting announcement for Patreon. Speaking of our Patreon, we have a lot of fun things happening this month on our Patreon. I know we're all just kind of getting out of summer and coming back from vacation, but if you're trying to get back into ancient Greek religion or learn more, we have so much content already on Patreon. So if you join, you have access to all that content already. You will not be disappointed. We have like pretty amazing things on there. But what do we have for this month?
For this month, well, we've got quite a bit because, well, we're not on our retelling stuff anymore. We are back for the epic stands and we are going over and listening to the Cyclops saga.
I'm
I
scared.
have already listened to it
I
and
know.
I'm super excited to give my thoughts and more. So we're going to be going over that one and yeah, stay tuned. But so we are going over that. We are also diving into a lesser known but still very prominent goddess, Tyche, that of fortune. And really, what is her role in mythology? Where do we see her? Do the good people out and about throughout the Eastern Mediterranean world know about her? What is she doing and why? And then finally, the age-old question, the truth about the good king of the underworld, Hades, and is he actually tied to wealth and finance?
What do we go to Hades for money? That's the big question of the day. And to stay tuned because we will be doing a deep dive on Patreon. That's what we do a lot on our Patreon. We like to debunk misinformation and bring the actual history to light so that you can have the correct information about the gods and their worship so you can go forth and be great in your own practice. And yeah, I'm super excited. I think it'll be a very fun month and we just finalized the Patreon schedule for the rest of the year. So we have super fun things coming out for our Patreon members. Thank you again for those of you on Patreon for your support. We appreciate you. It's the reason why we do what we do. But with that, quick temple update. Do 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 do. The actual
What's going
store.
on? What's going on in the temple? Like the
Quick store.
torches.
A lot. So in August, we are refilling and restocking all of the god candles. So if you are looking for Hermes, Persephone, Hecate, Zeus, Hera, we have a special one coming. We redid our Dionysus candle. He is coming back to the store. We are restocking all of that and their altar boxes, incense, everything that you could possibly imagine. We have other fun things coming around. So stay tuned. You can follow us at Sticks and Bones Temple on Instagram. We'll be restocking each week a different god or goddess. So if you've been waiting for the altar boxes or anything to do with a candle, it's coming this month. So set your alarms because we hand make them. So we only do a certain amount.
Oh yeah, they are
A certain
hefty
amount.
cows.
Oh, and we're also going to be doing the Depnon boxes again. So if you want to, celebrate Hecate's Depnon, we're giving you all the tools to do that, etc., etc. So yeah, follow us over on Instagram. And I think that's it for updates. So let's dive into it. Where do we want to start with today? Do we want to talk about how you and I got into Greek mythology, or do we want to talk about what was on the shelves maybe around the 90s to the 2000s in terms of Greek mythological retellings?
Hmm.
You want to start with maybe what kind of stuff was out there when you and I were growing
Yeah.
up. So, in case you guys didn't know, Dr. K and myself, we're in our 30s. We are millennials. I know a lot of you are Gen Z or maybe you're older than millennials. So, I think all of us are going to have different gateways
Yeah.
into Greek mythology because I kind of envy Gen Z. I think upon our research, you guys had a lot more. You had Percy Jackson. You're out here, you have Epic. I know we can enjoy Epic too, but it's like you
Yeah.
had more with retellings than we did, I would say.
Yeah. And
It
a lot more, I mean, because of social media nowadays, it seems like there's a lot more just information about Greek mythology, people going to Greece, people, buying, little trinkets, reproductions, going to museum stores and everything and talking about it and being able to share, oh, I'm at this museum, here's what this piece means, or here's this cool book that just got released, Song of Achilles. Have you heard of it? We didn't have that. Like, for reference, I'm 93. Like, I am millennial, almost at the tail end. What are you, 91?
Whoa, 92. I'm just kidding. Yeah, good point. We didn't have the internet. Like the only thing that we had was MySpace. And let me tell you something, we were not talking about Greek mythology. We were coding our layouts and listening to emo music. So there was no here's this fun artifact or here is this retelling. We didn't
No.
have any of that. So I think that takes into an account of maybe how everyone got into Greek mythology is going to be vastly different.
100% because you were only going to the library to get books. The Scholastic Book Fair would make its appearance every single year in
Oh,
elementary school.
my mom would give me a blank check to that thing. She'd be like, because she used to run it. She was on PTA, so she would be there. She would monitor, be like, okay, you can't have like seven books. But the Scholastic Book Fair, do they still do those?
I don't
I
know.
really hope so because those were the highlights of my life.
We had Scholastic Book Fair and Dare.
Yes. Dare. They don't do Dare anymore. That I do know.
But we had those, and then on Really Your Own, it was smaller series that would have like inklings of Greek mythology. Like somebody ran by and was like, Greek mythology. That was
There was
it.
nothing,
Then
really.
nothing. Like, for reference, those High Priestess Chelsea and I have not read Percy Jackson. I know
No.
Disney Plus did a whole like series or season one on it. I've heard good things about it. That came after our time because it was released in 2005.
My brother read it and he is the beginning of Gen Z, even though he's more millennial in a sense, because I
Yeah.
guess he, grew up with me. But he was obsessed with Percy Jackson. And I'll never forget this in my whole life. I'll never forget this. Pluto. I was worshiping. I had an altar for Hades and Persephone in my house when I lived with my parents, and I'll never forget. He looks at my altar and he said, "Is this for Hades?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Why are you worshiping that guy? He's a dick." And I was like, literally, like the fear of God went through my body. I was like, "Please." I said, "Brandon, don't say that. What's wrong with you? Like, this is a religion." And he was like, "Oh, I was thinking of the Percy Jackson version." And I said, "Dude, like, get off my altar and get out of my room." Like, you know, when your brother just comes in and starts picking up your stuff in your room and is just like, looking at things, it's like, get out of here. Get get out. He called him a dick. And I was like, very new to ancient Greek religion. So I was like,
My pearls. They've been clutched.
I literally was like, I'm so please, good king of the underworld, I apologize
Smite him.
for
Smite him down.
yeah, if he smited him, I wouldn't have, I would have been like, he had a good reason. He had a good reason. He
He
had
did.
good reason to. But it was because in Percy Jackson, I guess Hades is the villain. I guess. I don't really know. I don't know anything about Percy Jackson. But of course he is.
Right? Like, so Percy Jackson came out in 2005. I was, okay, depending on like when in the year, either fifth or sixth grade for me. I don't really remember it coming out or being part of the Scholastic Book Fair.
No, I was definitely older and it wasn't like a thing. But I knew of it, like I said, because of my brother. We're 6 years apart. So I definitely passed the Percy Jackson train. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I feel like it was like our Harry Potter train almost.
It must have been. I have no idea.
Me
So
either.
then going back in time, there was references to Greek mythology via Cartoon Network with Courage the Cowardly Dog, but that was like ancient history spookiness, not really anything. And that was in the late 90s. And then Disney's incredible cinematic masterpiece of Hercules came out in 97. So
I was 5.
I was 4.
Yeah, it's like we were too young for that, you know what I mean? Like what 5-year-old's really understanding Hercules? Like it to its true core. I
Yeah.
wasn't I think and as I got older, I watched Hercules, but it wasn't like I was
No.
obsessed with it because I was too young.
My mom plopped me right in front of it on my little table and let me color while listening and watching to it. That's literally it. I wasn't
Yeah.
being like, wow, wow, how are they depicting Hera here? She's doing this when in this book she does this. No. I was 4.
You're too little. So, yeah, I think it definitely impacted how we got into Greek mythology. But I'm curious, how did you find yourself on the Greek mythology train? Now that we've kind of looked at the evidence of like, all right, what did we have in the 90s to the 2000s? Okay, we kind of had something, but and maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're missing something. I just don't remember there being a huge obsession with Greek mythology until maybe like it was taught in a history class,
Yeah,
perhaps.
that's what I'm thinking. I remember reading as a kid the Magic Treehouse series.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember if they went to ancient Greece, maybe Rome. I know they were on the Titanic at one point because I ate that up, but that was kind of the only thing. So I would say I didn't get on the Greek myth train until we started learning about it pretty early on in elementary school. And then I would make my mom take me to the library and check out all the books and have her read them to me.
Yeah, right. As we all have like that one hyperfixation when we're a kid. Like mine was I was obsessed with like computers were just coming out. Like I know
Mm,
I feel so old when I say this. Like computers in people's homes were just becoming a thing and my mom used to take me to the library so I could play the like educational computer games.
yes,
You know what
yes.
I mean? Like I was playing like Barbie Hairstyle Studio and I was doing like Reader Rabbit and like I don't know if any of you guys know those games, but Putt Putt Saves the Zoo. Freaking Putt Putt. Putt Putt Saves the Zoo is my favorite game. Don't even play it with me.
I've
But
seen that one.
there was no Greek mythology. That's my
There was
point.
no Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
I wish there was, but there wasn't, you know?
Yeah, and so we really, for my elementary school, we started really diving into everything in fifth and sixth grade because that's for us when we also started looking at ancient history and ancient
Mhm.
civilizations, looking at where civilizations came about around the Nile River, around, the rivers in the Indus Valley, Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers.
My favorite.
Really stuck with you, that
My
silt.
favorite. But freaking still. We'll talk about it. Don't worry.
But that was, and then of course, like Greece and Rome and everything. And I think that's really when I was like, that slaps. Like, that's some crazy stories. And I'm here for it. How many more do you have? Because I will read them all.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. I don't remember being taught Greek mythology in school. And obviously we were because I remember Zeus, I remember Apollo, like everyone knows who Zeus is. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter who you are. My parents know who Zeus is, right? And they're like they call Hecate, like they can't even say her name right. They're like, "Who is this? Who is this that you're posting about today?" My parents don't know what I do. I don't think. They're just like, "Okay, she's clearly obsessed with Greek mythology." And I'm like, "It's so much deeper than that." But I
She
don't
picked up the phone. She's safe.
yeah, I'm not gonna call the cops because my daughter answered the telephone. But I don't really remember it being taught in school. I remember having to memorize the We the People section of the Constitution, but I don't remember the Greek mythology portion. So
Really?
I wasn't like obsessed with it as a young adult.
We did a play in fifth grade that was about Theseus and the Minotaur. A little dark for fifth graders, but
Yeah, we didn't do any of that.
and then sixth grade was more like ancient Egypt, and there was a whole nifty song that I had to memorize about all the Egyptian gods. Don't remember it now. But
I
like,
don't remember any of that. I think when I got to middle school, we started talking about ancient civilizations, and I could be wrong, could have been slightly taught in elementary, but I will say this. This is one weird fun fact about me. I was obsessed with Mesopotamia, not the mythology of the gods. I was obsessed with silt. I don't know. It's the weirdest. Like, I was like, this place is awesome. I want to go to it. Like, how can I get a time machine and go back so I can see the silt?
you would have made a great geologist.
Like, I I don't for the life of me know why, but it was like anytime we learned about Mesopotamia, I knew the words. You know, the vocabulary section of the test, like I knew everything. I knew the names of the rivers. I was like, this is these are my people. Like I'm going back here.
Going back here, go to the Tigris, go to the Euphrates.
Like, and it wasn't about the mythology though. It was just about the location.
I get that.
You know,
I
like
get
I don't know. And to this day, I'm still fascinated by Mesopotamia. I think it's so cool. But it's not about the myths of the gods or the
no.
goddesses.
It's interesting because Mesopotamia, I feel the same way. Like their myth slap, sure. Epic of Gilgamesh, love it.
Hmm.
But I feel like the kings and the history and like the different periods around the silt, so much more fascinating.
I remember thinking these people are lucky in the ancient world because they woke up on the most fertile land. You know what I mean? Like they are here on the most fertile land. And I think 'cause when you learn about other ancient like places in the world, like Mesopotamia was just like
They
the
got it all.
they got all this. You know, if I had to pick.
They've got gold, they've got lapis lazuli.
Yes. Yeah, like
Silt.
something about it just really really stuck with me. And like that's all I remember about Mesopotamia, but I was obsessed. I did not get into Greek mythology until I was an adult. Um,
How
and
adulty.
oh, like in my 20s, like very adulty, like mid
Okay.
20s. So, and I would you got some of you guys know my journey as a high priestess, partially due to the fact that I was drawn and chosen to be a high priestess. But
Hmm.
I remember I just felt this pull to order a Greek mythology book. And I was like, I was trying to find my way in my 20s. So I ordered a Greek myth book and I started reading like actual Greek mythology. And
Hmm.
every night before bed, I would come home from work and I would open up to a random Greek myth. I would, because I knew that they had lessons in them. So I was like, okay, I would randomly open up my Greek mythology book and say, what lesson do I need to know today? And then I would read it and then decipher what the message was and then I would actually go online and take that research even further to see what other
Hmm.
people were saying about it. Maybe I had missed something, like what's deeper about this myth. And so I, as an adult, became obsessed with Greek mythology. It wasn't a child. I was like 25.
Interesting.
Yes. And then I was like, now I'm obsessed with the Greek gods. It was the myths first, though, it was not the gods themselves.
Yeah.
And then I started practicing ancient Greek religion. So like that was I just picked up this Greek myth book one day and I was like, we're here. And
I
now we
mean,
have Six and Bones Temple and Six Bones podcast. You know, it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, you just get that book at the Scholastic Book Fair. Oh, crack it open, see people with the name archaeologist on a show, and you're like, that's it.
It was so weird. And
Hand it to me.
I remember I was living with two roommates at the time, in my small apartment in Hoboken. I was like working in the city. And my roommates would be like, "What are you reading?" Because they were reading like romance novels, like the fair, like whatever. I don't even think the fairy stuff was out yet. The romance novels, like whatever. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm reading Greek mythology." And they were just looking at me and they were like, "Why?" We just came home from the bar and you're open up your Greek myth book. Like, what are you doing?
I'm doing my skincare and I'm learning a lesson.
I was just like, I don't know, something about it made me feel peaceful. So, honestly, fun trick if you're getting into Greek mythology and you're overwhelmed by the stories, just randomly open to a random myth and read it that day.
Yeah.
That's what I did because I was like, I don't want to read this in the way that it's in order. I just kind of want to open up the book and see what happens.
Like, Lord knows with how much extra lore there is. Sometimes the order doesn't matter. Really, the only order that matters is the books in the Iliad and the Odyssey. That's the
Absolutely.
only time order kind of matters.
Yeah, and it's just like it was too overwhelming at first. But so for me, like the myths, I've only seen them through the perspective as an adult, and
Mm,
I think that's why I envy like the Percy Jackson people, even though it's not 100, it's not real Greek mythology. I'm like, I
yeah.
wish I had that like spark when I was younger of picking up a Greek mythology book and reading about the gods and being curious about it, but that didn't exist to me. It just never existed.
That's crazy.
I know. Like I said, the only thing was and when we did learn about the Greek gods, I was more interested in the ancient civilizations that were there. I was more interested in ancient
Mm.
Greece, ancient Rome. Like I wasn't interested about the gods.
Yeah, I get that.
Like I was like, wow, Rome fell. That's crazy, but it wasn't about like who are they worshiping?
Rome fell. Damn. Did somebody
Yeah.
check on the fire of Vesta? Like,
What the hell's going on? So I think like two vastly different perspectives where you were interested
yeah,
more as, I wouldn't say a kid, but maybe like preteen.
preteen. Because sixth grade, you're 12.
Yeah, so preteen, and I was 25. So I think, you might fall somewhere in that range on your journey, or maybe you could be older than me and interested in Greek mythology for the first time. I feel like there's like this, you kind of feel weird when you're an adult reading Greek mythology because you like feel like you're left out of some club that you should have been in as a kid. Because I feel like a lot of people start as a child.
Do you really feel that way?
I think when I first was reading it, and then like with the rise of social media and communities online, I felt like I was behind because all these people had
Oh.
known these myths already, and then I was just discovering it for the first time. And so with the rise of TikTok coming around, I was pretty well versed in some of the myths, but like the Athena versus Poseidon one with the fight for Athens, I didn't know that because that wasn't in
Mm.
my Greek mythology book. It was like
I did make
now
varsity.
now we know that's in Apollodorus,
Yeah.
pseudo Apollodorus. We did a whole episode on that. But I felt like I had been missing something because people were like, "Wow, I was so obsessed with this myth as a kid," and I'm like, "Oh God, I like never felt that way. I
Interesting.
never felt that way as a kid." Yeah, so it's weird. I think we have like this weird outsider looking in type
Yeah.
vibe.
That's so fascinating because any like if somebody were new and being like, "Oh, I just read this myth," or like if you when we first met, if you're like, "Oh, I'm just getting into Greek mythology, I just finished Athena versus Poseidon." It's so weird because I would have been like, "Oh my God, tell me your thoughts, theories. What you think? What's your opinion on pseudo Apollodorus? Like, tell me everything."
I think I think people online can make you feel like you don't know anything because you just started. And even with some of the classics, right? Like I had just started getting into the classics when I was in my 20s. I had just finished reading the Iliad and the Odyssey maybe about 2 years ago. So, and because that's like very dense. It's a very dense book. You got to be in it to win it. You know what I mean? So I felt like I was behind. And obviously you know these stories because they're famous. It's not like you don't know anything, but it almost feels like you're behind sometimes because you're like, wow, I wish maybe I don't remember reading that in school. I don't think we did read that in school. We read other things, but they weren't the Iliad and Odyssey.
I don't think we read the Iliad and Odyssey. We read Oedipus, Rex, and
Yes,
Antigone.
Oedipus for sure.
Um, maybe some other playwrights like Aristotle, something else. But yeah, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, it's like that's why I was like respectfully envious of the people that loved Percy Jackson so much because I'm like, wow, I wish I was like obsessed with it as a kid or I knew about it as a kid because I probably would have loved it. But to our point earlier, I think there was just really nothing unless you learned about it in school and then became obsessed with it.
Yeah, unless you had that like itch of like, yeah, I'm gonna now latch onto this.
Yeah, so I'm curious for any of you listening, like where are you on the spectrum? Like, were you a Percy Jackson person? I envy your life. Were you like me? Maybe you're just starting Greek mythology for the first time right now and you're like, it's overwhelming. I think that's another thing I felt too, because I wasn't learning in a school setting that like I didn't really know where to start. Like when you say Greek mythology,
That's
what does that
true.
mean? Like where do you start?
That's true because since I had it since a kid, I was just like, yeah, it's just there. I've never actually had to think about that, like how it could be overwhelming.
And then take it a step further, you're getting into ancient Greek religion now because you love the myth so much. Where do you even start with that? Because you're like, okay, I see people worshiping these gods I want to be a part of. Where do I even start with such things? Because it's so overwhelming with information and you
Yeah.
have to know the myths, right? Like, so not only do you need to know about the gods in the historical sense, but now you need to also know the mythology. And there's a lot.
And there's a
Family
lot. And
trees.
that and I think even so, like I came at it from such a skewed perspective of majoring in archaeology and understanding how everything played into it. So it wasn't overwhelming. But if you don't have that, you're going to drown, or at
Oh,
least
I
feel like
drowned.
you're going to
I
drown.
I straight up drowned. I was trying to practice ancient Greek religion on my own, and it's once again, I dare say this is why we started Sticks and Bones podcast was because we were having these conversations and like I was trying to explain to Dr. K, it's a little bit easier for you because you studied it, majored in it, you literally have your doctorate in this. There are some of us like myself who want to be a part of these things, but then it's like, where do we start? Where do we go? What do we do? There is no like direction. It's kind of like even with the mythology,
There's no direction unless like you could try chronological, but then you're going to have later editions and be like, wow, how does this fit in?
it's a lot to take in. So, yeah,
It
it's just a lot. And I think that's why I loved when we did the Zeus versus Kronos episode because that it was not the first story that I read. And I almost kind of wish that it was. Like if I had to recommend to someone to start somewhere, I'd recommend that one if you're trying to understand the gods and maybe how things are coming
yeah.
into fruition. I would start with a creation story because I think
Yeah.
that's really important. But there's also so much nuance in that too. So it's like if you don't know the history or maybe why this story was created, you're missing so many points to the story.
That, and then there's a whole nother level of which translation you are viewing, because
Yes.
we've dealt with that, and how one scholar could approach it this way, another could approach it this way. And then from there, then you get further into the realm of classics, people who spend a lot of their lives breaking down words and ancient languages. And it's so fascinating how each one plays a role and it can be overwhelming. I mean,
So
I am
overwhelming.
no way, shape, or form a classics person. I am just a fan. But it is interesting to be able to view it from the outside, have that obsession from a young age, but then also, like you brought up with Song of Achilles earlier, I'm able to separate the two Achilles.
Right.
Achilles and Fuckilles, because we all know the war crime breaker of the Geneva Convention, Achilles from Homer, and then my Shayla from Madeline Miller.
Right. And then there are some people that are reading Song of Achilles and are thinking that's actually what's happening in Greek mythology. And then they get to Greek mythology and then are vastly disappointed because the whole like romance and love story is not there. Because Greek mythology is known for the love stories, the tragedies, like the insaneness that goes on. But yeah, back to my point earlier, like if I would read the myth and then I would try to gather as much information as I could online to see how other people were interpreting it because once again, some of the gods are referenced by epithets or certain names
Yeah.
in these myths as well that I didn't know Poseidon was the earth shaker. So when you're reading the the creation myth of Zeus over there in Kronos, they don't refer to him as Poseidon sometimes. So it's like it's a lot. But anyway, so for those of you out there that are like, this is a huge undertaking and I'm having a panic attack, there are people out there that get it. Trust me, I am one.
Yeah. It's never that serious. It's just Greek mythology.
Also, too, even when we are doing Greek mythology on the podcast, we don't know where everything is. Like, once again, back to the Athena versus Poseidon myth, we thought that was much crazier and bigger than it was, and it was just a few passing sentences in Pseudo Apollodorus, which comes later. So,
Way later, but was taught in elementary school, I will say. That was
yes.
like the biggest thing since Zeus versus Kronos. And yeah, it's so interesting how, modern interpretations will make ancient stories so big or so small in comparison, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a slippery slope, but nonetheless, I really love it. And now being well versed in Greek mythology, it is pretty amazing. Like when you finally get it and you understand it and you're like, okay, I'm here. I know the gods now because there's also 50 million gods, right? Like that you have to know and understand who's their dad. Why are they arguing? It's just like a whole shit show.
Always, always. It sounds like a Real Housewives of insert whatever city reunion.
Yeah. But I'm curious to know if you guys try my method for Greek mythology. Just open your book up. If you have a dusty book sitting around because you're trying to read Greek mythology, ask yourself, what is it that I need to know for my lesson today? Or maybe what is the myth I need to read for today? Just trust yourself, open it and just read it. Don't judge, just read it. Just read it. That was the best way to learn for me.
That makes sense. Break it down, easy, digestible pieces.
Just try your best. But also, you could just stay here and listen to Sticks and Bones because we have a great lineup of mythology coming up for the rest of the year. We're going to be doing Orpheus and Eurydice. We're going to be talking about Selene and Endymion, star-crossed lovers, the gods and their lovers. We're going to be doing all that. So if you're like, no, just listen to Sticks and Bones, we got you covered.
So, if you remember, what was the first myth you got into? Like, what was the first myth that you remember fully reading?
Okay. I can't remember, and this, I don't know why it's not coming to me. The guy that flew too close to the sun.
Daedalus and Icarus?
Icarus, that was it, Icarus.
No.
Okay, so I got home from work. I had a really stressful work one day, and I opened up my Greek myth book to that myth, and I knew that myth, like, because the references of flying too close to the sun, like Greek mythology's everywhere in like present day life. So I knew of it, but as I'm reading the myth, I didn't know it was that myth, and I remember sobbing. I had my glass of wine, and I was just like, why would somebody write this?
Screw you! Over 2,000 years later.
No, literally, I had to put my Greek myth book down, and I just could not pick it up again for a little bit of time because I was so beside myself. It was Icarus. That's when I first remember reading a full-blown myth and making a huge impact on my life.
Wait, that's so funny because the first one that I remember, and it was the play in fifth grade, but that was the first when we got the play of Theseus and the Minotaur, which is the offshoot is Daedalus and Icarus, because Daedalus creates the labyrinth. Spark Note edition, spoiler alert. But from the play, going home, reading the real version at like 11 years old, and just that entire story, which we've done on the podcast of Theseus, the ship of Theseus, all of that kind of stuff, and being like, what
It's a
is
dark myth.
going on?
It's a dark myth. Yeah, and I think maybe we remember it the most because it was so dark and crazy that like it just sticks with you. And these are not even myths really about the gods. These are myths about like lesser known Icarus. Like, why did that one stick with me? I don't know, because he like flew too close to this. I can't. I
Yes,
hate
don't
that
do
myth.
it.
I will never cover this myth on Sticks and Bones, mark my words, because you'll have to do it solo. You could show up with a mic and say, it just put like a poster of me next to you with a tear. I won't show up.
I think like the spookiest thing at 10, 11 years old was the fact that your literal childhood nightmares of there being a monster
Yeah.
in your room or closet or whatever was chasing and munching on Athenians. And you were like, no, that's fucked. Like now I think the Minotaur's in my closet.
I I don't like that myth. And honestly, when we had to cover it on Sticks and Bones, listen, we're down the line. We're going to be doing an episode on the three judges of the other underworld, and one of them is Minos. And my biggest beef is, and we will discuss it in that full episode, why is Minos allowed to be a judge of the underworld when he created the Minotaur? Because he promised Poseidon something. Anyway, it just, it all starts with him. So it all starts with a man, a king, of
A
course.
king nonetheless.
Of course.
But it's it's so crazy because I was addicted to it since then. Read Theseus and the Minotaur. What an entry point, might I add. And then working at the site of Knossos, which is supposed to be like the legendary palace of Minos and the labyrinth, if you look at the floor plan, and being there and being like that, I could understand that if that's what they thought that this palace and the ruins were. Like how terrifying that would be.
Oh, thanks. I'm
A
good.
bull man breathing behind me, trying to run me down. Pass. No, that's the ancient Athenian Hunger Games. I will respectfully decline.
No, I'm good on the Minotaur. I don't like that myth at all. I know we had to cover it because it's important because we were talking about Theseus, but that's one of those myths are not my favorite.
It's bad news bears all around. Like
It is.
everybody in that myth is SOL. It is like a Game of Thrones. Nobody wins in that myth. Nobody does. Just when you think you're gonna have a happy ending, no.
I feel like that's a lot of the myths, you know? And then as I started reading Greek mythology more, I was like, these people don't ever get a happy ending. You know, like it's just always crazy. And then like you have to know like okay, maybe someone pissed Aphrodite off in one myth and then it reflects in another and you're just like, listen, I've had enough.
You gotta know the trickle down effect. Like you
Yeah.
gotta know the butterfly
Like the
effect of
curse of
like
the House of Thebes, all of that. Like there's and we did a whole episode on that on Patreon.
the cursed necklace of Harmonia.
Yes, yeah, it's just a lot. So sometimes I have to take a break from Greek mythology because it does sometimes like get to you.
It does. I start to feel like Charlie Day a little bit
Yeah,
with my red string and being like, you know what, maybe it's okay.
absolutely. Well, um, yeah, I mean, like that's how I got into it. That's how I started. And oh, I wanted to tell the story of my godson.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys this. I went on vacation. I just came back from vacation and I went away with my like Italian Catholic family. The Catholic part's important, so keep that in mind. And my godson came with us. He's 8, and I'm his godmother. That's a very important role in Catholicism. This will come to play into later. I will tell you why. The godmother is the one that's supposed to direct the child in the religion, and you're supposed to be like their holy guide to Christ.
Yeah.
Now, my cousin, why she picked me, I get it, but I don't at the same time, you know. But my Italian family is very spiritual and they're very accepting of the stuff that I do. So anyway, we were in Mexico and we're on the beach and we're getting ready to do an excursion. You know, we are ready
Yep.
to we're going out on a boat. And
Cool.
all of a sudden I see a storm coming. Like,
Hmm.
you know, you just see it rolling in from the
Oh yeah.
ocean.
And you're like,
So
awesome.
we were in like a private like area because we had paid to be there. There wasn't too many people. So I started praying to Zeus, like talking to Zeus and being like, oh my God, Zeus, please, please, if you could just hold the rain off. I want to go on this excursion so
Yeah.
bad. So I didn't realize my godson was standing next to me. And he's Catholic. So he's like, Aunt Chelsea, who is Zeus? And I'm like, oh, you want to know about Zeus? Let me tell you. So I'm like, now I'm going into Zeus. I'm like, he is the king of gods. He is the god of thunder and storms. And he smites people with his lightning. He has like this lightning that he carries. And I showed him, I pulled up some ancient artwork of Zeus. I'm like, let me give you a visual. You know, me,
Yeah.
I'm like, gotta give the full story.
PowerPoint at the ready, locked and loaded.
Someone's asked me about ancient gods, ancient Greek gods. I got you, hyperfixation. So Joe is like the light in his eyes, right? Like he's so fascinated that there is this god of thunder. So he's like, do you think if I say hi to him, Aunt Chelsea, he'll say hi back? And I'm like, I don't know, Joe, you can try. So he goes, hi, Zeus. And after he says that, the thunder starts booming. Like we hadn't heard thunder up until this moment in time. And he jumped up and down and he was like, he answered me. Did you see that? That was the coolest thing ever. And then lightning happened. Like I could not make this up if I tried.
Yeah.
So Joe, the whole entire vacation was obsessed with Zeus. Like anytime it rained, he was talking to the clouds. Like he was running up and down on the beach talking to him. And it was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Just
And I'm like,
that like that wonder and that rush of excitement of give and receive in
yeah,
that immediate relationship air quotes,
right.
um, of that wonder of okay, well, if I do this, will Y happen? And it did.
Yeah, so the rest of the vacation, we had like about 4 days left on the trip. So each day he would knock on my room and he'd be like, Aunt Chelsea, can you tell me more about the Greek gods? So I'd come in and I taught him about Poseidon the second day because we were on a cruise ship. So we were in the ocean and I was like, Poseidon rules over the ocean. He's Zeus's brother. Showed him a photo. He was like, wow, this is so cool. So the third day I get to Hades. You guys are gonna love this. So I get to Hades and I'm like, Hades is the king of the underworld, blah blah blah. This is his wife Persephone. Showed him, ancient art. We don't really like have modern depictions of Hades because
He's the unseen.
where? So I was like, but Joe, I was like, listen, the coolest thing about Hades, this three-headed dog Cerberus. Okay, let me tell you about Cerberus. And he was like, he's real? I was like, yeah, he exists in the underworld. He makes sure that,
Nobody
everyone
gets out.
stays inside and nobody gets out. So he goes to me. So disinterested in Hades, by the way, could care less. Cared about Zeus and
Yeah, yeah,
Poseidon.
yeah.
Because Hades to an 8-year-old, why would he be interesting? Like, who
He's
cares?
married, only has one wife, uninterested. Show me your three-headed dog.
Doesn't have lightning bolts. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. Doesn't have lightning bolts. The dead are shades, not zombies. I'm uninterested.
yeah, we don't really know a lot about him. We're going the Greek myth route. We just know some things. So he goes to me, and this is where I was like, oh my God. He goes to me, he goes, so I was telling you, I was like, yeah, Joe, like some people practice this religion. This is where they go when they die. You know how like you're Catholic and you go with God and heaven and Jesus, like he's taught in CCD. He goes, so if I change my religion, I can go to Hades. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not being a good godmother. Like this is, I said, listen, listen, listen.
Um,
Listen, if you want to go to Hades for Cerberus, it's for the wrong reason, okay? So we can have this discussion when you're older if you decide that, you want to explore other things, but this is where people go, like me, who practice ancient Greek religion. And he was like, but I want to go. And I was like, oh my God, please do not tell my cousin this. She's going to think I'm trying to convert him.
he really is just like, can I pet that dog?
Yeah. And my cousin's like a CCD teacher, like she's very Catholic. I'm like, I'm gonna be kicked out of like the family barbecues. She's gonna be like, you're not hanging out with her anymore. Um, but he just wanted to go because of service. And then I talked about Heracles because I was like, you want to know this crazy story about Cerberus? Heracles brought him out of the underworld. And he was like, is he real? And I said, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he's real? What do,
What do you
what do
think?
you, what do you think about it? And then I was like trying to get him, I wanted him to watch the Disney Heracles, which is why I brought it up because I think he would love it.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. So I don't know if he actually did, but the whole trip, that's all he talked about. And I was like, when I get home, I have to tell Dr. K because obviously it's not a vacation unless we're talking about the Greek gods. But it was so interesting to see a little kid be enamored with the Greek gods. And I think maybe because I wasn't when I was younger, so I was like, wow, this is cool. And then it got me thinking, like, what did children in ancient Greece think of the gods? Do they just think of like when you're raised Catholic, you're like, oh, they exist? Like, were you enamored by them?
Maybe enamored and just understanding that they were there, but I mean, what mother or parent back in the ancient day wasn't going to be like, you eat your full dinner or the Furies are going to come get you and they're going to drag you down.
Well, Joe, he was misbehaving at some point, and Italian families were all allowed to reprimand the child, especially if we're close. So I did
Hmm.
say to him, I said, listen to me. You think Zeus is your friend now, but he won't be your friend if you don't listen to me. Okay? And he said, is he going to smite me with lightning? I said, I don't know, but you
I
better
don't
start
know.
behaving. He was being like a little fresh, you know? And I don't deal with fresh.
I don't know if he'll smite you, but have you heard about the Titans?
I said, let me tell you something. He's always watching.
Yeah.
He's on his best behavior. He didn't say one thing. He was like talking back to me a little bit. I said, let me tell you,
Hmm.
I will go to Zeus. I'll tell him what you did.
Don't make him come down here.
So, and then I thought about that one piece of art we have of Aphrodite with her shoe getting ready to throw it at Eros. And I'm like, that's how I felt.
Honestly, ancient people were getting the chanclas ready to go.
They were. So I was like, I want to have children one day. So like, how would I describe it? You know?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting concept. I think it's how we were taught about, growing up Catholic. And then it was like, okay, well, how were we taught? Kind of along the same lines of, well, this is so and so. There's the here's the creation story, here's this, the generations, and I think just using it as a way to explain the world and using it for lessons, as well as understanding like good and bad, kind of like larger concepts of here's what happens when you do good. You behave, you listen to your parents, you are a good person, you get rewarded. If not, Zeus is going to smite you.
I know, and it was so funny because like we've been on this whole campaign to defend Zeus's honor, and like now I felt like I'm indoctrinating a child into Greek religion, but it's not. It's like the mythology and like the just the wonder of like, wow, there is a God. There's gods for so many things. He couldn't understand that concept because obviously Catholicism is different. And he only knows Jesus and God. He doesn't even know really saints. He hasn't gotten that far into Catholicism yet. So, it was fascinating to him. And yeah, it was just, I don't know, it was really cute, like him talking to the clouds. I was like, wow.
It's so interesting because you came into it mid 20s. He is 8
8.
and I was a child, got suckered into it. But going on vacation with Kevin, he asks very similar questions. Of course, how old is Kevin? 32.
Hmm.
But when we went to Delos and we were walking up the freaking hillside of a mountain trying to get to the grotto of Hercules, scaling a cliff, because I just wanted to see it. I wanted to see the archaeology.
Yeah, yeah. I listen, I've been
There was
scaling cliffs
no
too.
path.
I get it.
It was an open air museum, and I said, fine, I'll make my own path.
Yeah, it's fine.
So Kevin was talking about, and he had some questions about the temple to Zeus on the top of the hill. And he was like, well, why did Zeus even come here if his one of his mistresses was giving birth here? And I said, I don't know, Kevin. Why do you think a god would do that?
To be like, hello.
And then he had all these questions of, well, who is, there was a temple to, I think, Nike right next to it. And, why was Heracles so important here? And why is there a temple to Apollo next to Leto? And who is that? And why does it matter? Who's here and why? And it's like, even at 32, you could still be like, wow.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, it's
Very
like when
cool.
someone asks me or you about Greek gods or Greek mythology or why is this here, it's like a whole dissertation can come out of my mouth. And like for me, I was trying to explain to an 8-year-old, like he's
Mhm.
asking me about Zeus. I'm like, what part of Zeus? I could tell you 50 million things about Zeus. What do I say? What do I say? Like in that moment, who's Zeus? Wow, that's such an open-ended question. I can give you 5 different answers. Like,
Tell me a little bit more what you're looking for.
what are you doing? What are you looking for? But I was like, all right, let me take like the what kids would be interested in, you know,
Yeah.
the
Kevin was
cool
like, tell me
ones.
about this affair and how it affected the island.
For sure.
And I was
I
like,
told
got
Joe
you.
about the lightning bolt. Like he smites people with lightning. And then the whole trip he was like, I think Zeus is my friend, Aunt Chelsea. Oh, and then we got stuck. Our plane wasn't going to take off because of a storm. And he goes, do you think Zeus is mad at the pilot? Do you think he's a bad man and he's stopping us from getting on the plane? I said, you know what we do in that instance? We pray to Hermes because we have to get home safely. And he's the god of travel. And he was like, who's Hermes? And I'm like, listen,
Listen.
it's a whole nother story for another day. Okay? We don't have enough time. Listen to Sticks and Bones. My dad was just like, what did you do to Joe? Because all he's asking about is Zeus. I'm like, doing my Sticks and Bones thing?
Doing my sticks and bones thing, Dad. And you know who he's not asking about? Hades.
Never once brought Hades up again. Was so disinterested. I was like, I was laughing because I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense.
No, that's so funny.
But I had to tell you guys the tea and the story because it was funny. But if you have kids, let us know. Like, what do you tell them? Do you tell them about the Furies? Because I'm definitely going to be doing that. You better listen to the Furies are coming up here.
They're coming up and they're dragging you underground.
That's right. Listen, I don't gentle parent. That's right. That's what's going to happen to you.
Better grab onto something strong.
The chancla's coming.
The ancient parents also had the accuracy of a sniper with shoes.
I think once you become a parent, it just automatically it just enters into your body, this sniper reflex.
It's gotta.
And supersonic hearing, because I don't know if you had this, and this is the last thing I will say. I would be talking under my breath, and my mom could hear me from a floor upstairs. She'd be like, "What did you just say to me?" And I'm like, "Like, how did she hear me?"
So that, and because my mom was also a teacher, she would across the room, facing opposite way, eyes like a hawk on the back of her
Oh
head.
my God, yeah.
But I will say this, since I've been married, kind of something similar. Kevin will walk by, will be just, we're 30s, we're married, and we're just getting snippy with each other because it's 100 degrees outside. And he's far too sweaty and he's touching me. No, don't touch me. He will say something under his breath across the room. He could be going upstairs and
Hmm.
I will hear it. He'll be like, "How the fuck did you hear that?" Well,
Supersonic hearing.
what do you got to say? Say
That's
it for the
right.
crowd.
Your name's going on a curse tablet to the underworld if you say it again.
That's it.
Add my last straw. But yeah, very funny. I could see myself doing that as a parent. I'm definitely going to use the Furies and Zeus with his lightning bolt.
You get on your hands and knees and be like, "I'm gonna hit the ground twice. One,
Hades is coming up here.
two,
Like,
three."
oh, so funny. But yeah, very interesting on how people get into Greek mythology. I hope that now, since Joe's been indoctrinated, I'm part of his origin story for Greek myth. I hope he says I had a really cool aunt that told me, even though she's supposed to be my godmother in Catholicism. And now he's here listening to Sticks and Bones.
I love that.
I know. I'm going on vacation with him in a week, so I'll keep you guys updated if he asks me. I'm not going to bring it up. I want to see if he brings Zeus up.
Zeus, maybe Hermes. How long you gotta plan out PowerPoints and gods of the day. Of
We're
course, Zeus.
staying in an Airbnb together, and he just like stays by my side 24/7. He thinks I'm the coolest, which is so funny because I'm like 33 and I have nothing in common with him.
But now it's Greek mythology.
But now, yeah, I know. I'm like, oh my God. And sometimes I just don't want to talk about it.
Dude, I get it. Sometimes you gotta turn it off.
I know. So we're gonna have to plan some strategy points of who do I talk about next. But that's it.
I love it. Yeah, we'll have to formulate together of who's next on the PowerPoint.
I gotta FaceTime you and be like, you want to talk to someone that knows something else about Greek mythology? Great. Here's an archaeologist.
Great, I'm phoning a friend.
I'm phoning Voodoo. Oh, she just jumped in the camera.
That's sometimes with Kevin. He was asking questions during Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Love him, love him. He'd ask about weapon typology and shield typology and Greek gods and this god and this mystery cult
I
and that
know.
and all these names. And I was like, Kevin, I love you, but let's play the quiet game. I'm gonna need you to write down all these great questions,
I'll have some tomorrow in a text.
and I'll answer you tomorrow.
I know I was in your basement. He was playing Assassin's Creed and he was like, whose temple is this? Do you know? And I was like, yeah. I don't remember whose it was, but he was like, oh, that's so cool. And who is that again? And I was like, great. I'm just down here to get something.
Thank God, I'll tag team you, and I'm done.
No, I'm good.
I'll trade off with Joe. You get Kevin.
I'm good. I got to explain to my dad at the same time because he's like, who is this Hecate that you're talking about? I'm like, that's not her name. It's Hecate, however you want to pronounce it.
Not hi, kitty.
He has no idea.
I love that. I love that. He's just happy to be here.
I'm like,
The men of sticks and bones.
did you leave your offerings on Depnon?
I love it.
Maybe I'll do Hecate next for Joe. I'm curious to get an 8-year-old's reaction on Hecate. Does he care as much as the internet does? That's gonna be you know what? That's gonna be my experiment.
Maybe do some goddesses.
I would
Zeus, maybe Persephone, maybe he's a gal pal. I don't know. Maybe
I don't think he's gonna give a flying crap, to be honest with you. I think he's like lightning, thunderbolts, destruction,
maybe Ares,
God of War. Yeah, that's a good one.
maybe Dionysus.
I don't know.
Could go either way.
Depending. Dionysus is a little crazy.
Yeah, keep it together. The main ads are gonna come tear you apart.
That's right.
Anything else you want to add for our little podcast today about how we got the goods of Greek mythology in our systems?
No, I think that's it. If you're not into Greek mythology, check out the silt in Mesopotamia. You won't be disappointed.
That's true.
Like an
You know
archaeologist
what?
vouches for me, you won't be disappointed in Mesopotamia.
You won't. And maybe if
Good.
Mesopotamia doesn't slap, might I suggest Egypt? You
Oh,
can't.
listen, I feel like last thing I will say, Egypt always slaps. I'm playing the Nancy Drew Raiders of the Lost Tomb right now, and I know hieroglyphics, like some of them. So like, let me tell you, I
Okay.
love ancient Egypt, okay?
Ancient Egypt slap.
It's good. But I feel like that's just like everyone knows that.
Well, except the ancient alien people.
Well, I discount them.
Do
I'm
not
not talking
you.
to you.
But that does it for this week's episode of Sticks and Bones. Answer down below. How did you guys not only find Sticks and Bones, but how did you guys get into Greek mythology? Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did he
Where
come
did you
from? Cotton
come
Eye Joe.
from? Cotton Eye Joe. That was a good
Cotton
one.
Eye Joe.
That was good.
Yeah, let us know. Do you like the Greek gods? Do you like Greek mythology? Do you practice? Honestly, as we always say here, hot girls read Greek mythology. So, with that being said, we will see you over on Patreon this month and next time for more Sticks and Bones. Bye.
Bye.